and anything that ghost stories, folklore, well, like those kinds of tales of folklore, horror, and most of the time I do makeup while I tell those tales or do some artwork. But I'm not doing that today. Um, Actually, I will be talking about some haunted, um, or rather cursed objects. Uh, so I would like to talk about the Hope Diamond, a cursed objects and haunted objects discussion. Um, Bear with me before I do. I'm logging into my email for a few notes. Sorry. But anyway, yeah, this live, I wanted to try to kind of experiment a little bit differently in my interactions. Um, because, oh shoot, excuse me. I'm trying to find my notes here. Okay, here we go. This is some stuff I'm going to kind of go over and read in a little while here. And I'm trying to figure out some, let me see. Welcome to our live chat. Remember to guard privacy. Okay. Well, I'm trying to figure out if I have my live chat open or not. If it is, if someone would like to type a little something to see if it's there, because there have been some previous lives. I did two so far. My first one was Halloween night 2 years ago on Crybaby Lane in Raleigh, North Carolina. Well, of that story and my experience there. If you haven't watched that, that live should be available. I was pretty much a novice, still a novice at this. I mean, newbie, whatever. But anyway, yeah. So today's discussion, I'm talking about the Hope Diamond. And I don't know if anyone has ever been to the Smithsonian Museum where they see the gemstones. Um, but there are objects there that are really beautiful, some beautiful gemstones, some really large and rather beautiful ones. But there is one trying. Okay, I see one comment. Thank you, Phil. Okay, cool. Thanks. Alrighty. Yes, awesome. So that looks like my chat is working. Yes, Phil, it says don't know if I'm chatting right. Yeah, no, it's good. I just wanted to make sure my chat was working if anyone wanted to interact, and that's all I wanted to know if it was. But anyway, yes, the Smithsonian Museum has an array, like so many different things in DC at that Smithsonian of natural history. There's so many things there, and I thought the most interesting thing there was one of the most interesting things there was like the gemstones, the jewels, and everything. But I'll talk more about that after a while. I want to focus in on this one. Yes, thanks. Thank you. Thanks. This is still a mystery. Yeah, it's still a mystery to me too, but good to know. Yes, thank you. Um, but yes, the Hope Diamond is there at the Smithsonian. And I want to talk a little bit about a little bit of knowledge that I've learned about that piece. Some of the facts versus the fiction or the folklore, urban legends. So the Hope Diamond, I'm going to compress this a little bit based on what I've learned. It was, it's, what's interesting is that this diamond is like hundreds of years old, maybe a little bit more. But it's from India. And the original idea that it derived from, the legend has it that it was allegedly stolen from a statue of a Hindu god or goddess named Sita. And when it was stolen, it was believed, or if it was stolen, that it was believed to have been cursed. Well, so far, you know, with some of these stories, folklores, urban legends, it's like a game of telephone. Things are told differently each time you hear it. It changes. But what in the fact, or what was found was, it was purchased. It was a purchased gem from the Collar mine in Golconda, India, and I'm sorry for anyone that speaks French if I'm about to butcher the name of the French merchant that originally purchased it. His name was Jean Baptiste Tavernier. Tavernier. Excuse me for clearing my throat and everything. I have a little bit of water. So, so yes, Jean Baptiste Tavernier is a French merchant who originally purchased the diamond, and the story goes is that he had sold the diamond to King Louis the 14th in 1668. Um, and to kind of break some of that down, uh, at some point, it was like it was seized. Um, I don't remember. It was like the government had seized the jewels, like the jewels that were possessed by King Louis the 14th, um, and then Marie Antoinette, that had owned the diamond. Now, if anyone knows the history of King Louis the 14th and Marie Antoinette, the legend attached to this is that people believe that what led to their demise was their attachment to this gem. If you know the history, they were guillotined a year, and it was a year after the French blue gem was seized by their government. I think that's what was stated. But it's interesting that some people would believe that that was their downfall, was holding on to this gem. Some people claimed that Marie Antoinette actually wore this gem when there was no reports or recordings of her wearing the gemstone at all. So I find that kind of interesting. Um, but at some point, there was like a massive amount of people, well, not massive, but like, you know, objects are sold, or um, jewels especially, and it had a long history from King Louis XIV, and then it was smuggled. Eventually, the jewel was smuggled to London, and it was sold by um, the French, not French, but by the private channels of King George the Fourth. Again, it's interesting that King George the Fourth had owned this, but there isn't any record of wearing it or displaying it. It's just, you know, interesting to know how certain objects are housed or owned by certain individuals in history. But after King George the Fourth had owned and was sold privately, the gem was sold away from his possession. It was eventually acquired by Henry Philip Hope, and he was a Dutch collector, that were of Dutch origin. And Henry Philip Hope, he was known to collect various objects, a lot of gems especially. But Hope, the diamond is called the Hope Diamond, and that was named after Henry Philip Hope. It's the diamond's namesake, basically. And eventually, that diamond had gone through his family. Eventually, it was owned by Lord Francis Hope in 1901, and he got permission from the Court of Chancery to sell the stone to pay off debts. And he sold it to Joseph Frankels, which was part was turned into a necklace by Evelyn McLean. And she was known to have jewelry, and turning jewels into like necklaces, earrings, and that such. And she did that with that diamond. And Hope Diamond, it was in her possession for a long time. And she passed away in her 60s, like early 60s, of pneumonia. Now, people believe that she also fell ill because of her ownership of the diamond. But I'm going to backtrack a little bit. When I mentioned the first person who allegedly, he sold this was the French merchant, Tavernier, who owned the diamond. Originally, it was tied. They called it the French blue. So they say that, according to legends, that after he sold the diamond, um, he was mauled by dogs, and that's how he passed. Was that? Oh, hello, Whitney, madam. I'm not. Oh, Dom. Oh, I guess my nephews. I have some family watching. Awesome, awesome. But yeah, there is a legend that says, the original merchant who found the diamond, that he was mauled by dogs, and that's how yeah, he, went out of this world, exited out of this world. Um, but the fact is, in 1689, he passed in his 80s, like at the age of 84 ish, of natural causes. And it's funny how people would look to fiction and folklore and would try to say this guy was mauled by dogs, and that's the curse of the diamond. But people like to fall back on these things and not take a good look at, well, was that really true, or was there something more to the person who originally had the diamond? Now, Jean Baptiste Tavernier, he had documents. Um, I should have taken a good look at all the documentation he had based on this diamond. But if anyone knows anything about those documents or about his journeys, feel free to drop them in my comments, if you have any knowledge of that. But I'm going to fast forward to back to where I mentioned McLean, Evelyn McLean, who owned the diamond. Like it was in the 1940s, and like I said, she passed of pneumonia. And some people had related her passing to ties of falling ill because she claimed the diamond. But I'm I'm not going to say it is or it isn't. It's just interesting how people come up with different scenarios of how people's lives turn out based on owning a certain object and based on that energy. Well, after McLean, Evelyn McLean had passed, Henry not Harry Winston had purchased McLean's entire collection, including that diamond, the Hope Diamond, and that was in 1949. And after Harry Winston had purchased that diamond, he was known to showcase and do exhibits of gemstones and diamonds and all sorts of things. And it had like several exhibits. I think um I think it went to France at one point for an exhibit. But then eventually he donated the diamond to the Smithsonian in 1958. So that is my short knowledge of where the diamond had come from and who had the ownership and where it led to it being at the Smithsonian. Now, a few months ago in September, I think it was September. Yeah, it was September. I actually got to go to DC where that museum, the Smithsonian Museum is, and I got to look at that diamond. Um it's really beautiful and it's like got like a blue look to it and there's several white diamonds around it and a necklace that Evelyn McLean had turned it into. And it's like on a rotating stand. So anyone who goes to look at the gemstones, looking at that diamond was really beautiful and fascinating because I had read something else about that diamond that it was actually it's a white diamond, but based on the lighting, it looks blue. And I just thought it was actually blue diamond. But I mean, that was something that I came across in information that I read. Don't know if that's fact or if that's part of the lore. Um, but that's pretty much what I know at the moment. But yeah, experiencing the diamond. If anyone watching has gone to the museum and didn't get to go look at the gemstones, I think you should. It's beautiful, it's fascinating. There's several other gemstones to look at, and the jewelry pieces were beautiful. Um, but there's like several crystals, amethysts, and like large crystal ball. I can't even remember how large it was, but there's so many things to see. They're so beautiful. Janie in. Hi, hello, Janie. How are you? I just finished talking about the rundown of what I know of the history of the Hope Diamond. And now I'm kind of talking about the experience. I saw that diamond at the Smithsonian and along with others. But anyway, anyone, if you get the chance to go to that part, the natural history part of the museum, I think looking at the gemstones is well worth it. I've never seen anything like that diamond. I've never seen anything like the others. I mean, it's just, I like crystals. I think it's pretty obvious. I have a moonstone pendant on tonight. Um, that would be appropriate to wear since I'm talking about this gemstone. Usually, when I'm on my channel, I usually do artwork as I'm talking and discussing folklores versus fiction versus facts or whatever on the subject I'm on, whether if it's art or makeup. I try to have the art and makeup doing stuff pertaining to the subject. Janie, doing good. I've heard of the Hope Diamond and want to know more. I've only heard of it sometimes being parodied in cartoon shows as the Hopeless Diamond. Yes, feel free to drop what you have experienced if there are any cartoons that you know of, because I didn't look into a lot of the entertainment of what has been inspired by it. The only thing I know is that I talked to my fiance Joey about this subject, and he was saying the only thing that makes him think of the Hope Diamond was an episode of The Munsters where Herman had swallowed a piece of jewelry and it was cursed and he kept going through all these weird hiccups and everything to um, understand if the object was cursed or not, but it was just sort of um, an unfortunate event of a episode because Herman didn't believe in a cursed object or that gemstone or piece of jewelry he had swallowed. Janie and Underdog and Top Cat are the two I can think of. Okay, great. Thank you. I appreciate your input, Janie. Um, but yeah, um, there's a little bit more on this. I have a list of things that I'm about to read off about the people who allegedly owned this diamond and their demises according to the legend. Excuse me. I have water. It's really cool about this cup is like it changes color based on what like the water or beverage that's in here. It's like a yellow cup, but it looks kind of orange. But I don't know. I just thought it was kind of cool to share. But yes, I'm going to read off this list, and you can go online. This alleged list of those that had fallen to their demises by this legend. It's there. I think it's on Wikipedia. But let me take a look here. Tragedies and various misfortunes. These were followed by another New York Times article in 1911, which gave a list of supposed cases of ill fortune, but few confirmations from the sources. Now, I know there are some rules here on YouTube and socials where you're not supposed to use certain terms. I'm going to try my best to make this be as direct as I possibly can as I'm reading some of this, and I'll translate that as direct. Jacques Collette bought the Hope Diamond from Simon Frankel and unalived himself. Now, I don't know if Jacques Collette and Simon Frankel had any like connection to Joseph Frankel's, who is the one that bought the diamond in 1901 from of the Sons of New York. But it might be considering, I don't know, but who knows? It's just again legend that I'm reading. And then it says Prince Ivan Kniatovsky bought it from Colette, but was unalived by Russian revolutionists. Kniatovsky loaned it to Miladu, who was unalived by her sweetheart. Simon Menchendries. Sorry, I'm butchering some of these names. Who had once sold it to the Turkish Sultan, was thrown from a precipice along with his wife and young child. Ugh. Sultan Hamid gave it to Abu Sabir, to Polish, but later Sabir was imprisoned and tortured. The stone guardian, Kulu Bey, was, I guess, also was hanged by a mob in Turkey. A Turkish attendant named Javier Aga was hanged for having it in his possession. Tavernier, who bought the stone from India, I already mentioned this. They say that the original merchant was mauled by dogs. No, he passed of natural causes at the age of 84, around that time. And then King Louis XIV gave it to Madame Montespan, who he later abandoned. Again, I don't really know that this is just legend that I'm reading right now. Like who is connected? Is this all really true? But these are the things that are shown so far, and I'm reading. Nicolas Fouquet, Nicolas Fouquet. I can't say these names. An intendant of France borrowed it temporarily to wear it, but was disgraced and he had passed in prison. A temporary wearer, I can't talk. Excuse me, I'm trying. A temporary wearer, Princess de Lamballe, was torn to pieces by French mob. Jeweler William Falls, who recut the stone, had passed a ruined man. Jim Falls' son hit Jim. Wait, well, no. William Falls' son Hendrik stole the jewel from his father and later unalived by suicide. Some years later, after Hendrik, it was sold to Francis Deyu, who passed in misery and want. So that's just a list that they're saying all of this had happened to these individuals based on the legend and belief of the diamond being cursed. People say if you own this thing, that it's because the story of it being taken from this goddess statue, Sita, which that amplified and given the energy to this thing to um, uh, have the attachment to bestow all of this malice, this tragedy, whether it's illness, accidents, um, you name it. The people believe that this thing had provoked all of these unfortunate events for these people. Now, whether someone believes in this stuff or not, I always think that when it comes to these objects, it's a really neat way to appreciate history. I always say ghost stories and folklore are a gateway for history and appreciation for historical objects. Um, because some people may want to look back and look at this stories to say, okay, like what I did with Tavernier. I was like reading up that allegedly they were saying he was mauled by dogs, but no, he causes. And it makes you think what really happened to some of these other individuals. Did they really fall to these demises? Because I didn't look into all of them. But it's just interesting how one item that is so old and passed down through years and years, people had hyped up this thing to being a cursed object. Now, there was an article that was out saying that, and it's I think this could be read on Wikipedia too, as well as that you can see where some had said that the stories of this diamond being called a cursed item originally derived and came into place to make it a sales item, make this to have something to draw attention to. Because if people talk about an item, what makes this item interesting? Why are people going to come to these exhibits or um, these showcases? What's going to talk it up? Why would anyone be interested in purchasing or just coming to look at this thing? And what's really interesting and a beautiful thing about that museum in DC is that there are people that come from all over the states and even the world to come look at these um, historical items. A lot of people, I remember when I got to see this diamond, there were people crowding around just to be in awe of this object, and I thought it was really cool. Like, wow, we're all in here for this one of these items. This is like the major attraction item in the room. But the thing for me, you know, um, looking at this item, I felt that way about a lot of those gemstones there in general. Like, I thought they were all beautiful. And sometimes you think, for those who can be spiritual or whatnot, if you believe in that kind of thing as being, you know, open and receiving energies or, you know, that kind of thing, some people are into it. What's the feeling you get looking at certain objects Um, I didn't get any, I don't know. I just thought, wow, this thing was beautiful. I didn't really receive anything that made me think this is intimidating. It looked enticing and beautiful to me, but it's not. Diamonds like that aren't really something that'd be like, I gotta have it, or it's definitely a charming piece to look at though. But anyway, that object is still open to the public. And I think I read something that was kind of interesting in there about the diamond saying like it's owned by everyone. Um, I'm like, that's an interesting way to put it. Some people might not like the idea of owning or saying like they share it because it is for the public. So I wonder how superstitious visitors felt when they read that. But yeah, no, I what I would like to do is I've talked a little bit about this thing being a cursed item and some people believing, especially saying, you know, superstitious people might have felt weird or uneasy, or maybe some others felt like how I felt like it was just charming and beautiful to look at. Um, but I want to talk about the difference of cursed objects versus haunted objects in belief systems. Um, the difference in a cursed object in some cases in a belief is, from what I've gathered, is there is an attachment of energy to um, an object, and it might not be very good energy, is what some people would believe, in folklores and urban legends and whatnot. Who knows? Perhaps even among today's societies. Um, like, the holidays just passed. When you really think about it, when you give people baked goods for Christmas or any holiday or birthdays, you're putting your energy and love into that gift, that object, that food, and you're giving that with love. And so I believe, you're transferring that energy from your heart onto something to give to someone else. And some people believe like you're giving something out of love to someone for a holiday or whatever special occasion. Is it possible that something from a negative mindset or energy view to transfer to something to give to someone else? Because there are some people out there that believe in that. And then there's the idea of haunted objects, which are different from, cursed objects. Some people would believe that a haunted object has an attachment, but not from a living energy, but from a source that has already passed on, a spirit or what have you, an entity. And how people shift or deal with that, there's so many different stories, ghost stories and experiences. But all in all, what they both have in common, cursed and haunted objects, what I think is the intentions. What is the beliefs and the intentions given to those, or that have been received on the object onto the owner? Like, it's like I said, when it comes to receiving a gift, or like I said, you bake something for someone, you're making that, from your heart. So that's my input on the subject of cursed and haunted objects. If anyone in the chat has anything to say, um, please do. I'd be more than happy to hear your insight on what I've just talked about, because this is part of why I wanted to try to get the chat fixed. And I'm glad the chat is here if anyone has anything to chime in on. I just spit my water. Oh my gosh, because there's a bug in it. Lovely. It's slightly embarrassing, but hey. At least I didn't do it on my camera, on my phone. That's all I have to say. I hope you were entertained. First, I butcher people's names and I giggle about it. Now I do this with my water. Thank you for sticking around through my mishaps. um, well, let's see here. Let me see if I can, if there's anyone here. Does anyone see? I'd like to try to invite somebody. I don't know if there's a, see, this is something I need to do. I need to figure out because while I'm talking right now on the subject of like inviting people, because next year I would like to change up some things on my YouTube channel here and bring on guests if they want to talk about their favorite, you know, whether if it's your favorite urban legend or ghost story. And if you're not comfortable personally on sharing that or an experience on what you have, feel free to message me, contact me, and I'd be happy to tell the story for you if you're not comfortable being live. But yes, next year I would like to not only continue doing artwork and telling folklores and urban legends, but I'd like to hear everyone else's personal stories or what family stories or superstitions or things that they have passed on in their families or whatnot that they would like for me to share, or what would they like to share personally. Just send a message, say hi, I'd like to join a live and discuss this, or I would like for you to do a video on this and I don't feel comfortable being live. Either way, let me know, I'd be happy to do it. um anyway, yes, that's something that I would like to bring new to this channel for 2025. Now, I do have something coming up in the new year I'm excited about. Is I will have Joey, my fiance, coming back on my YouTube channel. And speaking of personal experiences and spooky things, folklores, or ghost stories, I'm gonna have Joey come on and he's going to tell me and tell you, the viewers, one of his latest experiences and his feelings on um, spooky or what could be supernatural or otherworldly. Um, Before I continue, I'm going to read this. JC. I'm sorry I just got on. I will go back and watch again. Thanks, Whitney. Oh no, take it. You know, should be saved and you can watch this later. Thanks for dropping a line and saying hello. I mean, you'll go back and you'll see me giggling and mispronouncing names of people that were allegedly cursed. You just missed me spitting out my water. Um, because a bug got in my water. That's lovely. But that's okay. You'll go back and you'll see all of that again. But thanks again. Thank you so much for interacting. But I was just saying, as I was just saying that, yeah, I will next year, in the new year, have my fiance coming back to join me, Joey. He will be telling his experience on how he feels about supernatural, otherworldly, spooky things, um, and how he feels about some of these subjects based on a personal experience. should I say what the personal experience was, or should I just kind of leave it and just kind of gradually make it a post? Anyone have a comment on that? But yes, and then I need to figure out how to add people to my conversations because I have other people that I am interested in, that I have an interest in, and participating in these conversations with me so they can go live and tell their perspectives and everything as well. So, can you put a curse on someone and let us see how it works out? Um, Me personally, um, I don't, I don't know. That's not something I would do. I don't wish anyone ill or anything. Um, and even if I did have the power to, I don't know. I think that would be like there would be bad repercussions for that. Maybe, perhaps. But yeah. But going back to talking about doing lives and live streams and talking about these subjects, um, whether if it's folk or urban legend or paranormal or anything of the sort. So, in my last live, Joey was with me, and we talked about our experience at the Unity Expo in New Jersey. And it gave us, for a while, we bounced around some ideas on what we would like to do, but I'm going to go ahead and mention that one at least. See, he's an artist as well. He has incredible artwork, um, of portraits, pencil sketches of people, and so many different things. If you're into looking at artwork, I will, if you're on Instagram, every now and then you'll see me sharing something of Joey's art. You will see him pop up on my Instagram, hit the follow button. He does share artwork occasionally. But anyone who has followed me and known me, yes, my YouTube channel, I've done artwork, I've done makeup. As I tell some of these stories, or even throughout some of the career that I've had as a makeup artist or artist, I've done concept art. I have done makeup effects in film and projects, um, various things. I've commissioned art, still do. um, but yes, Joey and I, we are collaborating our efforts together by, I guess you would call it intuitive art. Basically, drawing whatever comes to us, what feels right to us. When we go to a certain location, whether if it's like allegedly got, some haunting, or if it's just a strange and unusual kind of place, we want to go together and check this place out and kind of start drawing what we feel, what comes to our mind's eye. Because when you're an artist, things kind of come to your mind a little bit differently. You look at an object, you see something, but you feel it differently, and you think with it on paper. And I think that's an intuitive thing for a lot of artists. I could go on and on. If anyone here has, a feeling for how they want to be receptive to art, that's you getting in tune with yourself and projecting what you see in your mind, and then you're putting it on paper. So we want to work with that and incorporate that with a YouTube channel that we just created, and we call it Spooky. No, it's called Sketchy and Spooky Journeys with Joey and Whitney, and it's at Sketchy and Spooky Journeys here on YouTube. So this will be our YouTube channel, is Sketchy and Spooky Journeys. So we will need like 50 followers in order for us to go live when we decide to do these, little sketches, wherever locations we decide to go Also, we probably will do different things kind of similar to what I do on my channel. It won't always be live, but w- there will be some other forms of content on that channel as well. So we're really excited about that. And we'll talk a little bit more about it on the live that I'll have him joining me on. And I think on that live, we're planning to have that live around the weekend of my birthday. And so watch out for the weekend after January 16th. So the weekend after January the 16th, um, so the 16th will be on a Thursday, but watch out for that. Depends on um, how we can manage that weekend. So yes, that's that's going to be an exciting one for me. And I'm so looking forward to him talking about his experience and what was meaningful to him on this um, otherworldly subject. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Should I say or should I leave it? I have a comment here in the chat, Laura. Her rare moments when you are not wearing a black outfit. Actually, I am wearing black. It's kind of like a wine burgundy or something. But yes, I did add a little bit